The following is a paid commercial program. Any claims or representations made in the program are solely those of the sponsor.
Owning your own home is the American dream. It's the way that you and your family begin to build a future for yourselves. It's also one of the most important financial steps you'll ever take. Hi, I'm Robert Urich. For many families, owning a home is still just a dream. You know, I grew up in a small two-story wood frame house on the Ohio River. My dad was a hard-working steel worker, and a lot of sweat went into every dollar he brought home. So you can imagine how hard it was for him to save up for the down payment. He was pretty proud when he bought that house for $3,000. Think about it. Today, $3,000 will barely get you into a decent used car. During the last 20 years, the cost of a new home has literally gone through the roof, and you're playing catch-up, trying to save for a big down payment. Take a look at these numbers. In 1976, the average cost of a new home was $44,200. Today, it's $136,000. The down payment has jumped from $8,800 to a whopping $27,000. And that doesn't include closing costs. Because incomes have not kept up with housing prices, fewer and fewer families can afford to get into a home. You may have a good income, but without that down payment, getting into a home is downright impossible. So you keep putting it off until someday. And if you're like a lot of people, that someday may never come. Sound familiar? Well, listen to this. I'm going to tell you about a company that's opened the door to home ownership for people just like you. For over the last 50 years, all across America, more than 40,000 families have taken advantage of a unique opportunity to build their own American dream through DeGeorge Home Alliance.
Everybody wants to have a home. I think everybody dreams about having a home.
It is the American dream.
Had it not been for DeGeorge, I wouldn't have this house.
It's not just a house we built, it's a home.
They're there to make it possible.
I love my house.
They help make your dreams come true.
In my dad's day, if you made $3,000 a year, that's about what you paid for your house. But by the time I began looking for my first house, it cost me almost twice my annual income. And today it takes 3 times or more of your yearly income. And that means 3 times the down payment. Think about it. You start out renting a tiny apartment. You live there for a few years to try to save for a down payment. The thing is, the home that cost $120,000 when you started saving now goes for $130,000. The down payment grew faster than your savings. You just can't save up fast enough. And at the rate housing prices continue to soar, you never will. Besides that, today we tend to spend more. We charge up more credit card debt and manage to save very little. It's hard to put away money when your kids' tennis shoes cost $80, and a trip to the doctor can clean out your checking account. So you're beating your head against a wall trying to save money and keep up with rising housing costs, as well as stay on top of your day-to-day expenses. What are you going to do? Well, DeGeorge has an answer. They have found a way for a hard-working American family to get into a brand new home. I recently had a chance to talk with Peter DeGeorge, the CEO of DeGeorge Home Alliance, and I was very impressed with how his company is addressing this problem, a problem that no one else in this country is willing or able to deal with, not even the government.
People that are customers today say to us, you know, we saved for 5 years, but the house increased in price by many times more than our savings, and therefore it got further out of reach.
So the cost of the house and subsequently the down payment grows faster than your savings. So you never can ever get to that spot where you can put a down payment on a house.
We've estimated that there's over 40 million Americans that need to be in a home that aren't in a home.
So how does your company address this problem? How do you help people get into homes?
Well, what we've been doing for 50 years, and what we very specifically are doing today is helping people earn the equity necessary to put down a down payment on a home that they need. The real American dream isn't a specific house. It's the American dream is getting into a house and then trading up and being part of that whole process.
DeGeorge Home Alliance empowers you to change your future. They give you everything you need to succeed, but the success comes down to you. What are you willing to do for yourself, for your family? You see, this is the way it works. You replace the down payment with the equity you create by managing the process of building your own home. Let me say that again. You replace the down payment with the equity you create by managing the process of building your own home. Sound overwhelming? Well, it's really not. I'm going to show you step by step how the DeGeorge program works. You're also going to meet just a few of the thousands of happy families who've already been through it. There are people just like you from all around the country, people who wanted to get into a new home but for some reason couldn't, until they found out about DeGeorge.
Our credit wasn't that good.
Steve has a bankruptcy, and that was a concern all the way around when we looked into buying a home. It was actually very easy. They were willing to work with us.
You try and save money, you're going to try and save for 5 years to have a down payment. Well, in the last 5 years here, the housing market has gone sky high. So the money that you've saved, you've maybe taken 2 steps forward and 4 steps back. They allowed us to jump into it with no money down. We went in with a pen in our pocket and signed some papers.
Usually the first step toward home ownership is saving up for that big down payment, and you use it to qualify for a mortgage. But with the DeGeorge program, you'd be amazed at how little it takes to get into a brand new home. Greg Handel of DeGeorge Home Alliance explains how it works.
The first thing we do is determine if this program will work for you. Of course, you'll need to qualify financially, but there's a little more to it than that. We're going to make a significant investment in you, so we want to be sure that you have the time, the desire, and most of all, the commitment to work with us. If you meet these few qualifications, then we're prepared to match your commitment with our own.
We're not trying to get you into a dream house. We're trying to get you into a home that you need. We're trying to get you into the housing game. But we want people that are motivated. You know, I've said this a lot of times. You know, we don't want people that are sitting there, couch potatoes, sitting there scratching lottery tickets, waiting for their shift to come in. We're interested in people that are looking for solutions. We're talking about people that can get involved in a process part-time while they have full-time jobs. And the average person completes this process in 11 months, working with our assistance, and that's what the Alliance is.
The DeGeorge program succeeds through your participation. By being part of the building process, you reduce and even eliminate some of the costs of building your new home. You work with DeGeorge to eliminate the general contractor, and most importantly, his fee. Of course, the more work you put in, the greater your savings and potential equity.
You don't have to be a skilled tradesman or a construction expert. With our program, you determine the level of participation you're comfortable with. Some of our customers don't do any of the labor themselves and choose to hire subcontractors to do all the work. Others choose to take on simple tasks like putting up insulation, painting, or landscaping. Many do even more, such as installing the sheetrock and the kitchen cabinets, which reduces the cost even further. Because some people are willing to do this extra work, we're able to qualify folks with surprisingly modest incomes and get them into the home they need.
Most of our customers are just everyday people that have nothing to do with the building industry or construction industry. They're everyday folks just doing light trim work, some of the painting, some of the landscaping. We work with them to eliminate costs, and doing as little work as eliminating the general contractor can save them as much as 15% on the house.
This is something that just seems to make sense to me. It's a real practical solution for people who wouldn't be able to get into a home any other way. And all you need is an annual income of at least $30,000 and 2 years of reasonable credit, plus the desire and commitment to get into your own new home. The DeGeorge Home Alliance is for people who've stopped dreaming about their future and are ready to start building one. You're about to meet some of the families who have built their own American dream. Like you, they had a few questions in the beginning, and now they've got answers.
The first reaction was that it was obviously too good to be true. There had to have been a catch somewhere.
I was really skeptical. I was the pessimistic one.
We're both kind of leery of just building in general. A little bit scary, you know.
If you have a little bit of common sense and determination, you can do it.
And you can do it with 2 full-time jobs. DeGeorge Homes has enough people on the inside, for technical assistance, technical help. Their blueprints are simple enough to read. The informational booklets that they send out, you can do it.
DeGeorge's expertise and support makes building a home a manageable process. While it may not be easy, with DeGeorge in your corner, the odds are in your favor. And most importantly, the DeGeorge program may be the only way you and your family will ever get into the home you need. For Mike and Lisa Beal, it was their only real option.
We have 3 boys, Tyler, Ethan, and Brandon. It's quite a house full.
We couldn't find a house that we wanted in our price range where we wanted it without building it.
To have somebody build a house for us and on the same location was going to cost us a lot more than we can afford. Compared to a modular prefab, modular is just a mobile trailer. This is actually what we wanted. You know, this is a real house. It was one of my biggest fears going into this whole program was what kind of material am I going to be faced with? You know, if they're offering me such a good deal, what am I going to be looking at for material? But whenever it showed up and we started to use it, I was extremely impressed. It was good stuff. We considered using a traditional bank for financing before we ever even heard of DeGeorge, but we pretty much kicked that out right away because it's next to impossible to get a loan.
They won't give you one because you don't have a contractor building it.
Building with DeGeorge made a lot of financial sense because we was able to afford it.
We couldn't have done it without DeGeorge.
We weren't a high-income family. We were mid to low, and we was able to build a nice house.
DeGeorge tailors the loan packages for each customer. In other words, they match the amount of loan you can afford with the type of home your family needs. They customize your construction loan to provide 100% financing of all the materials and the skilled contractors necessary to complete your home. Plus, you can also finance up to 95% of the purchase price of your land. How do I find a piece of land?
There's realtors all over the country that have lots for sale. You can go to the town hall. They have listings for all lots for sale.
You'll help us finance that?
We'll finance 95% of it.
You're going to help me determine whether I can afford this piece of property and it fits into the overall scheme of things?
We will go through your financial profile, and we'll give you a good estimate of what you could afford to spend on land.
The entire loan process usually takes around 30 days. We help you complete your individual loan application and select the home that best fits your family's needs. We have a wide variety of home plans that complement your lifestyle, personal tastes, and your region. And they're designed to keep costs to a minimum while maximizing the final appraised value of your home. We've determined what adds to the value of your home and what doesn't. We show you how to make the best decisions that add to your equity in the end. This is the key that makes the entire process successful. We create a construction budget suited to your specific goals and abilities before performing a plans and spec appraisal, which helps show if the value of your completed home will enable you to earn the equity you need to qualify for a permanent mortgage. This helps make sure that you're not paying more for your home than it will be worth. Our customers borrow an average of $125,000, and it wouldn't be very smart of us to lend that money to someone if they couldn't obtain a mortgage and pay us back. We win when you win.
We don't get paid until the end. If this doesn't work, it doesn't work for us. If we overcharge for something, and if the whole process was too expensive, if you will, then the customer would never ever get into a mortgage because the house would not appraise out acceptably enough for the customer to be able to afford a mortgage. And if he couldn't afford a mortgage, then again, he couldn't pay us off. There's nothing better than a deal that works for both sides. And this is a deal that works for both sides.
The DeGeorge program is all about you and DeGeorge working together. Here's what DeGeorge does. They provide the financing, the plans, the expertise, and all the support you need from start to finish. And DeGeorge arranges for the purchase and delivery of the building materials. Here's what you do. First, choose the land and plan. Decide where you want your new home and go about purchasing the property. DeGeorge finances up to 95% of the purchase as part of its program. And if you already own a piece of land, well, you've got a good head start. Then with DeGeorge's help, you select a home design that best suits your budget, your lifestyle, and your family's current needs. As the building process begins, you do the work of the general contractor and manage the building of your new home. And remember, you're not alone. You've got DeGeorge's 50 years of experience behind you every step of the way. If I bought a product that was referred to as the DeGeorge Home Alliance box. Here it comes in a package, and I open it up. What do I find inside?
Well, if you open up the box, you'd find a whole bunch of money. And you'd have money for land acquisition. You'd have money for paying for subs to do a lot of the construction work. You'd have money to purchase the materials necessary to construct the home. Then you'd also have a whole bunch of different support services. Some of them will be financial support services. Your credit work and work through your financial profile of what you could afford and what you're willing to participate, how you're going to participate in the process, and how much sweat equity is going to be earned. And that whole profile is put together up front, so we know what we're doing together. Then there's services that are construction related, that deal with the customer on an ongoing basis as the process begins, reviewing the bids, collecting the bids, scheduling and the rescheduling of the work, the paying of the subcontractors. We perform that banking function where we actually are issuing the checks and paying for the contractors. Then there's another set of services that, as the house starts getting more complete, starts working with the mortgage to make sure that we're in the right direction and we've profiled it correctly, and that that we're going to be in a permanent mortgage at the end of the day.
They're a bank and a lumber yard. It's all rolled up in a line.
You have everything you need, and it's just like A to Z.
It was a complete and total package.
So, what does a general contractor have to do? Know how to get bids and approvals, schedule and reschedule subcontractors, coordinate material orders and delivery to meet the schedule, and pay the subcontractors. And that's about it. I know what you're asking yourself right now. How do I eliminate the general contractor when I'm not a general contractor? Well, the answer is with the benefit of DeGeorge's 50 years of experience. DeGeorge Home Alliance guides you through all of this. Remember, most of those 40,000 families who built with DeGeorge never did this before either. DeGeorge will help you get through it just as successfully. They have all the know-how to organize the project and make it go smoothly.
To get the ball rolling on the construction phase, the DeGeorge Home Builders Project Pack will help you in your role as project manager. Included is our handbook, completing your DeGeorge home in time and on budget while you eliminate the general contractor. This book guides you through the process from start to finish. It's easy to read and full of checklists to make sure you don't forget things. You know, at this point, it's not uncommon for people to be very skeptical, but I'm here to tell you, you can do it. We like to compare building your own home to planning a wedding. Think about the amount of time and effort that goes into getting married. You determine your budget, schedule the church, arrange for the minister, musicians, caterers, and put together a guest list. You have to make sure everybody gets to the church on time and the ceremony goes off as scheduled. That's basically what a general contractor does. You coordinate all the subcontractors for framing, plumbing, electrical, or other work throughout the building process. You also decide if the payment for the contractor's work is within the budget. We're here 7 days a week to answer questions and guide you through the entire process. Remember, you're not doing this alone. The construction project folder contains house-specific bid forms, sample agreements, and a tailored project schedule. Working with us, you select your subcontractors, arrange for permits and inspections, and successfully oversee the process of building your new home. We're here to make sure this works. DeGeorge is behind you all the way.
You know, general contractor's a business to make money. He's going to make probably 20% of the value of the home, where I'm not paying a general contractor to do that. That's what I'm putting in my pocket. That's where the equity comes into the home.
When you think about it, even with a general contractor, you're the one making most of the key decisions anyway. So why not work with DeGeorge to eliminate the general contractor? Get rid of the expense and use that money for yourself. By eliminating the general contractor, your time and effort translates into equity in your new home. And equity is just like money in your pocket. It's this equity that allows you to get a new DeGeorge home without a down payment and enables you to get a mortgage for your new home. Now let's talk to Kim and Steve Quick from the state of Colorado. They were tired of seeing rent money disappear every month and decided to build their own American dream.
Renting was a miserable experience. We were always fighting with the landlord.
Renting's not fun because you've got all the constraints. Somebody else owns the home. You want to do something, you've got to get all this permission, and they don't want to spend the money, or you have to put your money into their home.
Might as well throw your money in a fireplace and burn it. You'd get a little more out of it. At least you'd get some heat.
When you own your own home, when you pay that mortgage payment, you know that you're going to have something in the end.
This place is ours.
Plus we get the tax write-off.
Yeah, well, we can deduct that interest.
Yeah, we started looking, and anything that was in what we thought would be our price range was either a hideous mess or somewhere where we didn't want to live. That's part of the reason that we went with the DeGeorge, was because the house that we wanted, we couldn't afford to go out and buy.
I've got a bankruptcy in my past.
With a bankruptcy, there's not much that you can do.
DeGeorge had to put faith in me. You know, with my credit the way it was, they took a risk on me. And they backed me all the way, and here's the finished project.
I think had we had to pay a payment on the land plus pay payments on a construction loan, we never would have been able to do it and still continue to pay rent and everything else.
The house cost us right at $112,000. Our original appraisal was $151,000, and it's appraised at $160,000 right now. So we've gained in 18 months $48,000 in equity.
We appraised so high, yet the money that we were asking for was considerably less.
And just about any lender would look at it.
Yeah.
Even with the,
with the bankruptcy.
The poor credit.
Most people that come to us know they can't go to a bank for a construction loan. They know they can't go to a bank for a permanent mortgage. A tremendous byproduct of this whole thing is that their credit is enhanced because two things happen. One, they've managed their time and money better, but more importantly, they've built this equity, which builds a much bigger and stronger financial base. By the time the project is completed, they're in a position to afford a mortgage.
If they weren't the customer-oriented company that they are, I wouldn't be here today. I'd be paying rent or living in a mobile home somewhere.
I think building a home with DeGeorge was a perfect choice for us and for a lot of other people.
You know, Steve and Kim aren't so much different from you, with one possible exception. They own a brand new home. They decided it was time to stop renting and start building a future by building equity and getting into the house they wanted and needed right now, not later.
I love to help people who help themselves. And people come to you and they say, we've been trying to save, we've been trying to get into a home for 5 and 10 years. I have 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids. We're living in an apartment and we have no way of getting in. And then 10, 11, 12 months later, you get a letter from them, pictures from them, and you see them in their homes. It's phenomenally rewarding.
How many people actually start the process and complete it?
98% of the people that start the process, complete the process, and end up in permanent mortgages.
They took me at my word, and for a big corporation to do something like that, it shows a lot of faith in people.
Unless you've done it before, the idea of managing the building of a new home sounds kind of scary. But think about it. The folks at DeGeorge have been through this at least 40,000 times. That adds up to a lot of experience.
We're with you every step of the way. We arrange for the purchase and delivery of all the materials from your local lumberyard when you need them. Throughout the construction phase, we help schedule your deliveries and monitor your progress until the home is complete. And our customer support call center is available 7 days a week should you run into any problems or have a question. When it comes to paying your subcontractors, we issue the check, charge it to your budget, and forward the check to you. When the subcontractor completes the work to your satisfaction, you hand them the check. To help you manage your budget, we send you a monthly statement of activity. Again, DeGeorge works with you to make sure you complete your home in time and on budget.
Our construction support is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And our construction support not only works with the scheduling and plans the work that needs to be done and the coordination of all the work that needs to be done, but is also there to deal with very specific on-the-job problems.
If you have a question, you make one phone call and you have your answer.
The literature that they sent, the instruction manuals and stuff, they were excellent. People that have no idea, that walks you through step by step.
DeGeorge gives you the roadmap and walks with you every step of the way. They help you with assessing bids, scheduling, and coordinating the subcontractors. In a sense, you act as their eyes and ears on the site. And if you choose to do some of the actual labor yourself, those cost savings will add to your equity. Just ask Kevin and Deneen Coons. When we visited them, their home was just about completed.
We adopted a little girl 3.5 years ago.
I read her stories about the prince and the princess living in a castle, and she always says, "This is my castle."
The turret's in the back.
The home I had previous to this one was just incredibly small.
Our walk-in closet is as big as, our dining room was in our old house.
My monthly payment on that versus the monthly payment that I have on this home, there's only about a $200 difference. $200.
I've got a garage that's big enough to land a 747 in.
In the area, custom homes of this grandeur would have been probably $90 to $100 a square foot. So there's 3,100 square feet. You do the math. That's a big savings.
We could have the same house payment somewhere else, but we certainly wouldn't have the same house. We'd maybe have a fraction of the space. This is the soundest investment we could have right now. This is better than any CD or any 401k. This is our future.
The only way we could have done this was through DeGeorge Alliance.
DeGeorge gave Kevin and Deneen the support and assistance this process demands. And now they've got a beautiful new home to show for it.
As the completion of your new home nears, our customer finance group makes arrangements to help secure your permanent mortgage. By the time the last subcontractor finishes up, all that's left for you to do is sign the papers and close on your mortgage. Then you and your family can move into your brand new home and begin enjoying the benefits of home ownership.
Every family's needs are different. And as we've seen, DeGeorge tailors the solution to fit your set of circumstances. But while the situations may be different, all DeGeorge families do have a few things in common. First, they all needed a new home but couldn't overcome the financial obstacles standing in their way. Second, they were willing to do something about it, to be part of the solution. DeGeorge takes care of the financing, the delivery of the materials, and they help manage the process. But you provide the commitment to see your house finished. But the most important thing these families have in common is that they're living in the house they need right now.
Had it not been for DeGeorge, I wouldn't have this house. And I wouldn't have the opportunities that I have now with my life.
This house means a lot to me because I know we built it.
I stepped back one day and just looked at it, and I thought, this is beautiful. This is the most beautiful home I've ever seen. And we built it.
Maybe you're renting and you have nothing to show for the money you spend every month. Or you have a growing family and need a bigger house. Maybe you want to move your family to a better part of town. Or you can't afford the high price and big mortgage of buying a house. Maybe you just can't qualify for the mortgage in the first place. Well, if you have an annual income of at least $30,000 and 2 years of reasonable credit, then DeGeorge could help you build your own American dream. The families we've just met are hard-working people with a great desire to own their own home. They were willing to commit to building a future for themselves and for their families. But when they started out, none of them thought they would ever have the opportunity to own their brand new home. Not until they met the folks at DeGeorge. So if you're serious about owning your own home and have the motivation and the commitment to invest in your dream, then DeGeorge is willing to invest in you. It doesn't get any simpler. I've always believed that home is what's in your heart. But thanks to DeGeorge, you can put an awful lot of heart into your home. I'm Robert Urich. Take care.
The proceeding has been a paid commercial program. Any claims or representations made in the program are solely those of the sponsor.